I never thought I'd bury my own reflection.
Not literally.
Anyway, but that's what it felt like when Victor Kane slid that diamond onto my mother's finger. His smile as polished as the con that had gutted our family 5 years earlier. He wasn't just a scammer, he was a thief of souls. The man who'd hijacked my father's body through some underground neural swap, leaving Dad's mind rotting in a pauper's grave while Victor waltzed in with his Wall Street charm and a trail of falsified debts pinned on me. And as the preacher droned on about eternal vows, I whispered to myself, "This ends tonight, your way or mine." The reception hall in that godforsaken Connecticut country club reeked of old money and fresh desperation. Chandeliers dripping like melting ice over tables laden with crab claws and champagne flutes that nobody touched. Mom, Eleanor. But she'd always been Ellie to me. The soft-hearted nurse who'd patched up half of Bridgeport clung to Victor's arm like he was the last lifeboat on a sinking ship. She was 62. Lines etched deep from years of double shifts and my dad's slow fade from cancer. But in that moment, she looked almost girlish, her laugh bubbling up as Victor spun some yarn about his tech startup days in Silicon Valley. Bullshit. I'd spent the last half-decade clawing through dark web forums and black market med clinics to uncover the truth. Victor wasn't Victor at all. He was Harlan Voss, a disgraced surgeon who'd pioneered neural transference in the shadows of big pharma trials, swapping minds like swapping SIM cards to dodge debts and DA indictments.
Me?
I was Brielle Harlan, no relation. Thank God, the 28-year-old pariah who'd inherited the fallout. 5 years ago, Dad's sudden death in a car wreck had been ruled suspicious. His accounts drained overnight. Fingerprints, alibis, even my goddamn DNA on a forged check that siphoned our savings into offshore shells. I'd taken the plea deal. 5 years probation. Community service in a diner slinging hash browns to truckers who leered at the felon girl. Mom believed the cop story. I was stressed, grieving, maybe dipped into the meds. Betrayal doesn't come sharper than your own blood doubting you. But Victor? He'd watched from the wings, courting her at grief groups, whispering how he'd lost his first wife too, all while wearing Dad's face like a Halloween mask. As the band struck up at last, I slipped away to the powder room, the mirror fogging under my breath. My reflection stared back, dark curls frizzed from the humidity, hazel eyes ringed with exhaustion. The scar on my jaw from a bar fight, I didn't start but finished. "You're not him anymore," I muttered, palming the vial from my clutch. It was clear, odorless, procaine derivative laced with a neural disruptor I'd scored from a hacker in Queens. One prick, and the swap unravels. Memories flood back. Host rejects parasite. I tested it on rats in a basement lab. They thrashed, then stilled, their stolen psyches ejecting like bad code. Controversial? Hell. It was vigilante science, the kind that gets you on watch lists. But in America, where billionaires buy immortality and the rest of us scrape for scraps, who gives a damn about ethics when it's personal? Back in a hall, I wove through aunts I'd ghosted and cousins who'd unfriended me post-sentencing. Victor caught my eye from the dance floor. His grin all teeth, Dad's teeth. Straight and white from that orthodontist in Stanford. "Brielle. Sweetheart," he called, Mom beaming beside him. "Join us? For old time's sake. Old times." Like the Christmas before the crash, when Dad hoisted me on his shoulders to string lights on the eaves, promising college funds that vanished like smoke. I forced a smile, clinking glasses. "To new beginnings," I toasted, the words acid on my tongue. As Mom swirled away to chat with her bridge club, Victor leaned in, his breath hot with scotch. "You look good,
kid."
Cleaned up since the unpleasantness. Unpleasantness. That's what he called framing me for elder fraud. Pinning Dad's suicide note on my laptop with keystroke logs that screamed guilt. I'd lost everything. Job at the ad agency. Fiancé who bailed with I can't date a criminal. Even the apartment in New Haven where I'd planned my escape to LA scripts and spotlights. Now I was back in Bridgeport, crashing on a friend's couch, piecing together Voss's empire from leaked emails and burner phone pings. He wasn't just a body snatcher. He was a syndicate kingpin. Neural swaps his golden ticket for laundering cartel cash through Shellcore. And Mom? She'd been his mark from day one, widow with a pension, ripe for the plucking. To absent fathers, I murmured, slipping the vial's needle under the cuff of his sleeve during a clumsy hug. He stiffened, eyes widening for a split second. Recognition? Or just the prick? Then he laughed it off, clapping my back too hard. That's my girl. Feisty like your old man. As he sauntered to refresh drinks, I melted into the crowd, heart hammering like a jackrabbit. Phase 1 Disrupt. The real Victor Voss, trapped in Dad's husk, buried under a false name in Potter's Field, would get his shot at justice if the swap reversed. But I wasn't banking on mercy. This was America 2025, privatized prisons, AI bail bonds, and revenge porn laws that didn't cover soul theft. My decisions? They'd be the kind that split juries, necessary evil, or cold-blooded murder. The night blurred into toasts and tartlets. But by midnight, Victor was sweating through his tux, blaming the damn AC. Mom fussed, dabbing his brow with a napkin monogram DK. Ellie Kane now. God help her. I hovered at the edges, phone buzzing with alerts from my encrypted app, vitals spiking, neural feedback looping. The disruptor was working, peeling back the graft like sunburnt skin. When he slumped into a chair, muttering about headaches, I volunteered to drive them home. Family duty, I said, keys jingling like shackles. Mom protested, too much wine, but Victor waved her off, his voice a notch too high. Let the prodigal daughter play chauffeur. The drive to their McMansion in Fairfield was a funeral procession on I-95, taillights smearing red through the drizzle. Mom chattered about honeymoon plans, Bermuda. Can you imagine? While Victor gripped the door handle, knuckles white. You okay, Vic? She asked, twisting in the passenger seat. He nodded, but his eyes met mine in the rearview, not Dad's warm brown, but Voss's ice blue, flickering like a bad signal. Just memories, he rasped. Old ghosts. I gripped the wheel tighter, the wipers slapping rhythm like a countdown.
Ghosts.
Yeah, like the one clawing free inside him. We pulled into the driveway at 1:17 a.m., the house a hulking shadow against the neighbor's holiday inflatables, Santa leering from afar. Mom helped Victor inside, me trailing with the overnight bag. The foyer smelled of vanilla candles and fresh paint, Victor's renovations courtesy of Mom's 401k. As she flicked on lights, he lurched toward the powder room, retching echoes down the hall. Brielle. Honey, Mom said, cupping my face like I was 10 again. Thank you for coming. I know it's been hard. Hard. Understatement of the decade. She'd chosen him over me after the plea, testifying that I'd always been impulsive, sealing my probation with a hug and a get help pamphlet. But tonight, cracks showed. He's not himself lately, she whispered, glancing at the bathroom door. Snaps at nothing. Talks in his sleep about procedures. LUPS. My pulse thrummed. The reversal was kicking in, Voss's psyche fracturing. Dad's surfacing in fragments. Maybe it's stress, I lied, steering her to the kitchen for water. Weddings do that. We sat at the island, marble cold under my elbows, as thunder grumbled offshore. She poured herbal tea, hands trembling. I love him,
Bree.
but if something's wrong, her voice cracked, the betrayal I'd nursed for years twisting into pity. For her, or for the monster she'd bedded. Upstairs, Victor's groans escalated to screams, guttural, inhuman. Mom bolted, me on her heels. He was on the master bath tile, convulsing, veins bulging like rivers on a map. Call 911, she shrieked. But I hesitated, phone in hand. This was it, the climax I'd scripted in sleepless nights.
Dial.
And EMTs flood in. Scanners detect the anomaly, neural graft failure. Voss exposed. Empire crumbling.
Or.
Let it ride. The disruptor had a half-life, another hour. And the swap lock's permanent. Dad's essence snuffed for good. Controversial choice. Save the man who'd raised me. Or bury the lie forever. I hit the buttons. Sirens wailing in my mind before they ever sounded. As paramedics burst through the door 20 minutes later, Bridgeport's finest. All buzz cuts and bad coffee breath, Victor arched, eyes rolling white. Harlan, he gasped. Not Dad's voice, but mine accusing.
Raw.
Mom sobbed on the stairs, clutching her robe, while I stood frozen, the vial's empty shell in my pocket like a spent casing. They loaded him onto the gurney, monitors beeping chaos, and as the ambulance peeled out, lights fracturing the rain, Mom turned to me. What happened? Brielle? What did you do? What did I do? The question hung like smoke. Because, in that moment, with Voss's syndicate goons already texting threats to my burner, we know your play. Girl, I realized the hook I'd swallowed. Revenge wasn't clean, it was a swap of its own, trading my soul for his. The hospital waiting room was a purgatory of fluorescent buzz and styrofoam cups, the kind of place where hope goes to flatline. Mom paced linoleum tiles worn shiny by 1,000 anxious souls, her silk robe swapped for scrubs from the lost and found. Ironic, since she'd spent her career mending what I was about to break. I slouched in a vinyl chair, scrolling fake updates on my phone. Stable. Tests pending.
Lies.
All of it. The ER doc. A harried Indian guy named Patel with a lanyard from Yale Med had pulled us aside an hour ago. Neural anomaly, he'd said, charts fluttering. Like a migraine on steroids. But scans show inconsistencies. Tissue rejection in the prefrontal. Mom's face had drained to chalk, mine stayed stone. Because inconsistencies? That's code for this guy's brain isn't his own. By dawn, the rain had quit, leaving Bridgeport sodden and smug under a slate sky. Cops showed up around 6 a.m., routine for unexplained episodes, 2 detectives in off-the-rack suits, badges glinting like cheap jewelry. Detective Ruiz, the older one with a mustache that screamed Mets fan, flipped his notebook. MS. Harlaner.
"'Kay now?
Walk us through the night." Mom recounted the wedding blur, the drive, Victor's collapse, her voice fraying at the edges. When they turned to me, I fed them the sanitized reel, doting daughter, family reunion, maybe bad shellfish. But Ruiz's eyes lingered, that cop's sixth sense pinging. You two on good terms? After the 2020 business. The fraud rap. Water under the bridge. Except it wasn't. Probation ended 6 months back. But grudges don't expire. I'd do anything for my mom, I said, meeting his gaze.
Truth.
Twisted. Anything except forgive the woman who'd testified against me. Who'd chosen therapy bills over bail money because tough love builds character. America loves that myth. Pull yourself up. Bootstrap your way out of the gutter. But when the gutter's lined with your family's bones, you learn to forge your own ladder. Rungs slick with spite. They let us see Victor by noon. ICU glass-walled and beeping like a casino slot machine on tilt. He lay tubed and trussed. Monitors graphing spikes that looked like seismographs from a quake. Mom pressed her palm to the window, whispering prayers from her Episcopal days, stuff about redemption and merciful God. I stood back, arms crossed, watching his eyelids flutter. Dad's face. But Voss's tics, the jaw clench, the finger twitch like he was already plotting escape. The disruptor had bought time. Not triumph. His goons would spring him. Or worse, silence the loose ends. My phone vibrated. Unknown number. Leave town. Or join him. Subtle as a sledgehammer. We grabbed lunch in the cafeteria. Jell-O for her. Black coffee for me. Huddled at a Formica table sticky with ghosts of meals past. Brielle, Mom started, fork stabbing a cube like it owed her money. The doctors mentioned. Experiments. Victor's passed. Her voice dropped, eyes darting to the orderly mopping nearby. He told me once, after too much wine, about second chances through science. I thought it was grief talking. Second chances. The phrase curdled my gut. Voss had peddled them to the elite, CEOs dodging midlife crises by hijacking younger shells, politicians erasing scandals with fresh neural prints. Dad, collateral, a healthy donor snagged during chemo consults, his mind overwritten in a Jersey clinic basement while I balanced finals and funeral plots. I knew something was off, she continued, tears salting her Jell-O. But love blinds you, honey. Makes you ignore the shadows. Shadows. Like the ones she'd cast on me, believing the DA's spin over my pleas. Betrayal's a two-way street, paved with silence. What if he's not who he says, she pressed, leaning in. My cue. I could spill it all, Voss's rap sheet from FDA leaks. The body farm in Reno where rejects rotted. The swap that stole Dad and framed me for the money trail. But secrets are currency, and I wasn't cashing out yet. Then we fight, I said, voice steady as rebar. For Dad. For us. Her hand covered mine. Warm and tentative, the first real touch in years. Hook swallowed deeper. Afternoon brought consultants, a neuroethicist from Hartford, all tweed and tenure, grilling us on informed consent. Turns out, Victor's chart flagged anomalies, dendrite mismatches, synaptic ghosts, like his brain was a palimpsest, old text bleeding through new. Mom signed waivers for deep scans, her pen scratching like claws on wood. I slipped out during, hitting the vending machine for a payday bar that tasted like regret. That's when the goons showed, mid-40s, buzz cut and biceps, loitering by the elevators in a polo that screamed private security. MS. Harlan, he drawled, southern drawl masking the threat. Boss sends regards. Says family's overrated, blood's just a solvent. I didn't flinch. Candy wrapper crinkling in my fist. Tell Voss the party's just starting. Next round's on me. He chuckled, low and wet, but his eyes were dead fish. Walk away. girl. Or, we make it look like you finished what you started in 20. The fraud echo again, implying I'd offed Dad for the inheritance. A narrative Voss had seeded deep. As he sauntered off, I texted my contact in Queens. Need extraction protocol.
Now.
The hacker owed me. I'd fed him Voss leads for his exposés. Reply pinged. Inbound. But it's messy. Fed sniffing neural black market. Your call. Back in the room. Victor was lucid, sort of awake. Anyway, propped on pillows within 4 drip of who knows what. Mom cooed, stroking his hand, but he yanked away, staring at me like I was the Grim Reaper in yoga pants. Brielle, he croaked. Voice a hybrid, Dad's timbre laced with Voss's rasp.
You
did this. Accusation hung heavy. Monitors beeping accusation. Mom gasped, but I stepped closer, leaning over the rail. Collateral.
Doc.
Like Dad was to you. His eyes, shifting colors now, brown to blue like oil on water, widened. The reversal was accelerating, memories colliding, timelines fracturing. Harlan.
No.
Eleanor. Listen, but she recoiled, puzzle pieces slamming home. What the hell does that mean? She demanded, voice cracking like fine china. Victor, Voss, Dad, clutched the sheets.
Sweat beading.
The swap. 2020. Car wasn't accident.
We
needed the donor. Donor. The word detonated. Shrapnel of truth embedding deep. Mom staggered back, hand to mouth, as Voss spilled fragments. The clinic debt. The cartel leverage. How he targeted Dad's chart for the clean neural map, then pinned the drains on me to cover tracks. She was convenient, he wheezed. Impulsive kid. Easy mark. Mom's face crumpled. Betrayal squared. Cubed. She'd loved a phantom. Testified against her own to protect it. Sirens wailed outside. Not for him, but a multi-car pileup on 95. Chaos mirrored the room. Nurses swarming. Mom fleeing to the hall in sobs. I lingered. Voss's gaze locking mine. Finish it, he hissed. Or they will you. Her. The whole charade. The goons. The syndicate. Power's puppet strings. Yanking us all. My hand itched for the second vial in my boot. The lethal dose. Controversial. Mercy kill the invader. Or let the law's slow grind expose the rot. I uncapped it. Needle glinting under the halo light. For Dad, I whispered. But as I plunged, twist. His arm shot up, grabbing my wrist. Not weak. Not Voss, Dad's grip. Iron from years on construction sites.
Bree.
Don't.
His voice.
Pure now. Eyes settling brown. The swap held, but the plea was real. Tears stung. The man who taught me to throw a curveball, now begging from a thief shell. I yanked back, vial clattering to the floor. Nurses burst in, alarms blaring. As they sedated him, I bolted down halls, outdoors, into the parking lot where a black SUV idled. My hacker's ride. Go, I barked, diving in. Tires squealed, Fairfield shrinking in the side view. Mom's text hit as we merged onto 95. Where are you? We need to talk.
He's.
Your father? Question mark like a guillotine. Revenge's high crashed hard, leaving me hollow. I'd started this for justice. Ended it chasing ghosts. But the real twist? In saving him, Boss.
Dad.
Whatever. I damned us all. The feds were coming. Syndicates circling. And Mom? She'd choose again. Blood or lie? As Connecticut blurred to New York's skyline, I wondered, was I the hero? Or just another swap in the machine? New York hit like a fever dream, horns blaring, sidewalks thrumming with the indifferent pulse of 8 million strangers. We ditched the SUV in a Brooklyn impound lot. My hacker buddy, Jax, all tattoos and Red Bull veins, hot-wiring a beater Civic from his chop shop network. Feds got warrants out, he muttered, merging into the Holland Tunnel snarl. Neural tampering? That's domestic terror now. Post the 23 Act. The Neural Integrity Act, Washington's knee-jerk after a senator's youth swap leaked on TikTok, turning boardrooms into body farms overnight. I'd followed the bill's birth in dive bars, nursing IPAs while Voss's empire ballooned. Now it was my noose. I stared out at the Hudson, oily under sodium lights, replaying the ICU plunge. Dad's voice in that husk, "Don't," had unraveled me. Was it him? Or Voss's ploy? A final con to buy time? Jax dropped me at a safe house in Williamsburg. A walk-up gutted to exposed brick and server racks humming like angry bees. "Lay low," he said, tossing me a burner and a duffel of cash, my cut from leaked Voss docs he'd monetized on the dark pools. Syndicates got eyes everywhere. And your mom's blowing up channels, says the hospital's holding Victor for psyche evals.
Mom.
The word tasted like rust. Last text, come home.
Please.
For him. Him.
Dad. Voss.
The lie she'd cradled. I crashed on a futon that smelled of weed and regret. Dreams a montage of swaps. Dad's laugh morphing to Voss's sneer. Mom's testimony echoing like a bad loop. Woke to rain lashing windows. Jax's laptop open to feeds, CNN ticker on billionaire surgeon's mystery collapse, pixelated shots of the wedding. My face blurred in the crowd. Speculation swirled. Stroke? Affair fallout? No one touched the neural angle. Too fringe. Too sci-fi for prime time. But underground boards lit up. Voss cited? Graft fails in CT. My handiwork. Viraling. By evening, I couldn't sit. Slipped out in a hoodie and falsies, cheap drag from Jax's stash, hailing a yellow cab to Penn Station. Train to Bridgeport, 2 hours of Amtrak purgatory. Seats sticky with gum and grudges. I dozed fitful, jolting at every stop, paranoia painting threats in every shadow. The scammer's endgame? Not just money, immortality's hustle. Voss had swapped up the chain, junkies for execs, debtors for donors, building a shadow elite immune to age. Accountability. Dad was mid-tier, a bridge body to test the tech before prime cuts.
Me?
The patsy. Because who'd believe a millennial ad drone over a white coat wizard? Bridgeport greeted with salt air and skepticism. The station a relic of Rust Belt glory. Cab to the hospital, St. Vincent's. Neon cross flickering like a bad omen. I paid cash. Slipped in through ER chaos. A kid with a skateboarding gash. An OD blue-lipped on a stretcher. Up to ICU. Badge swiped from a laundry cart. Hallway hummed sterile. Monitors a chorus of beeps. Victor's room, guarded now. A uniform outside. But I knew rotations, nurse shift at 8. I waited in a supply closet, mop handle digging my ribs. Heart syncopated to the drip of a leaky faucet. 8 sharp, footsteps recede. I ghosted in, door clicking soft. He was awake. Alone, tubes thinned, eyes tracking me like radar. Brielle. Dad's voice. Steady now. No Voss rasp. I froze in the threshold, fluorescence casting long shadows. How? The disruptor, he said, sitting up slow. Bought time. Enough for the graph to stabilize? No, reverse. Flashes.
Kid.
Your mom's face. That tree house we built. Memories. His bleeding true. I crossed to the bed. Chair scraping linoleum. You're back. He nodded, wincing. Mostly. Voss's. Fragmented. Like radio static in my head. The twist gutted me. Not full ejection, but a hybrid hell. 2 souls in 1 skull. Dueling for dominance. Controversial science's curse. Swaps weren't clean. They bred chimeras. Psyches at war. The frame job, I pressed. Voice low. You know. His eyes brown. Pure, clouded.
Bits.
He used us to launder. The crash?
Rigged.
You took the fall because God.
Bree.
I pushed you away. Grief group. That was him. Puppeteering. Puppeteering. Mom's courtship. A puppet show with dad's strings. Tears hot. I gripped the rail. She chose him. Testified. Said I was broken, he finished. Hand on mine.
Warm.
Calloused real. I know. But she didn't know. Voss fed her doubts. Isolated her. Betrayal layered, not just his theft, but the secrets it unearthed. Dad confessed fragments. Voss's leverage. A cartel hit for botched swaps. How he'd volunteered Dad during a consult. Overriding mid-procedure. The crime I'd borne? Embezzlement cover for hits. Bodies dumped as overdoses. My plea? Shield for the machine. Alarms, footsteps. I bolted, but not before his whisper. Save her. Not me.
Downstairs.
Out alley. Lungs burning. Cab to the house. Fairfield's glow mocking. Mom's Prius in the drive. Porch light on like a beacon. I let myself in, key under mat. Old habit. Kitchen. Her at the table. Wine glass stem snapped in her fist. Blood beating. Brielle. Not surprise, relief.
Raw.
The police. They say it's identity fraud. Victor's not. Harlan Voss. Question to statement. Horror dawning. I sank opposite, stealing her Merlot. Dad's in there. Fighting. She shattered then, sobs racking, glass shards scattering. I loved him. Thought he was. Salvation. Salvation. American dreams poison. Remarry the monster. Blame the daughter. But as she spilled, her doubts. The prenup she'd ignored. The headaches she'd dosed with Vicodin, I saw the cage. Voss's moxie. Power through possession. Turning love to leash. Why'd you believe them? Over me? Harsh. But the wound wept.
She met my eyes.
Wine red.
Fear.
Of losing you both.
And guilt.
Your dad before he said things. About debts. Experiments. I buried it. Buried. Like the secret that birthed this. Dad's own dabble in Voss's trials. A cure for cancer that hooked him deep. The mistake I'd shouldered? Ours. Family's Faustian bargain for 1 more year. Twist inverted. Not victim. But complicit. My revenge a mirror to their sins. Sirens, real this time. Feds. Bursting doors. vests black as judgment. Brielle Harlan. Hands up. Voss's goons had flipped, ratting for immunity. I stood slow, Mom gasping. Climax, not needle or expose, but surrender. Take me, I said, wrists out. But the machine? It's bigger. They cuffed. Reed writes, Miranda crisp as fall leaves. Mom clutched my arm. Fight it, honey. Like he would.
Dad.
In the van, zipping to Holding, I texted Jax, drop the files. All of it. Weeks blurred, arraignment in Hartford. Bail denied, flight risk, tampering charges. Cell in York CI. Concrete echo of my probation hell. But the drop hit. Voss's ledger's viral. Swaps exposed senators, CEOs. A Veep in the crosshairs. Trials cascaded. Syndicates crumbling like sandcastles. Mom visited Sundays. Dad him. In a psych ward. Hybrid stable. Testifying remote. Proud, he rasped through glass.
Proud.
Of the daughter who'd chosen truth over killshot. Ending? Debatable. I walked free on technicals, disruptor, experimental aid, not assault, after 18 months. A book deal pending. TED Talk whispers. Mom and Dad, cohabitating awkward. Therapy's tightrope. Happy? By tragic. Justice's Pyrrhic. Souls scarred but stitched.
Me?
Brielle Harlan. No longer patsy, vigilante. Vector.
Voice.
In America's underbelly. Revenge isn't final, it's remix. And as I boarded that LA flight, script in lap, I smiled. The swap? Complete. Their loss. My gain.